Hello, you're watching AnewZ Morning from Baku. I'm Bakhtiar Asanov, and here are the top stories. Donald Trump names Susie Wiles, the manager of his victorious campaign, as his White House chief of staff, the first woman to hold the influential role. U.S. Federal Reserve slashes interest rates by 25 basis points amid weakening labor market, marking the second rate cut in this easing cycle. Hurricane Rafael makes landfall on Cuba's west coast, causing widespread damage. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has appointed his senior campaign advisor Susie Wiles as the White House chief of staff, entrusting one of the greatest allies with managing his administration. At 67, Wiles makes history as the first woman to hold this role. According to Donald Trump, Susie helped him achieve one of the greatest political victories in American history. Trump also praised her pivotal role in both his 2016 and 2020 campaigns, emphasizing her toughness, intelligence, and innovative strategies.
Appreciation for Susie and Chris, the job you did. Susie, come here. Come here, Susie. Chris, come here, Chris. Susie likes to stay sort of in the back, let me tell you. The Ice Maiden, we call her the Ice Maiden. Come here, Chris. Come here, Chris. Susie likes to stay in the background. She's not in the background. Come here, say something.
U.S. stocks closed higher after the Federal Reserve cut interest rates by 25 basis points, extending a rally sparked by Donald Trump's return as U.S. president. The Federal Reserve's second rate cut in this easing cycle comes amidst cooling inflation and a weakening labor market.
Since early in the year, labor market conditions have generally eased, and the unemployment rate has moved up but remains low. The Federal Open Market Committee, which sets policy for the central bank, stated that inflation has moved closer to the committee's 2% target, but is still rather high. According to the statement, the committee agreed to reduce the federal fund rate target range by 0.25 percent points, from 4.5 to 4.75% in order to achieve its objectives. The Fed's latest decision came after a weak employment report, which showed that U.S. employers added only 12,000 jobs in October amid a cooling labor market. This slowdown was exacerbated by a strike and the impact of recent hurricanes. Following the Federal Reserve's announcement of a 25 basis point interest rate drop, the S&P 500 and NASDAQ Composite ended the day higher. The NASDAQ Composite increased by 1.51%, while the S&P 500 gained 0.74%.
Hurricane Rafael struck Cuba, causing widespread damage in Artemisa province. The president remains steadfast in the face of criticism.
The storm had shifted 250 kilometers northwest of Havana into the Gulf of Mexico, no longer posing an immediate land threat, according to the U.S. National Hurricane Center. Artemisa province, a key farming area for Havana, bore the brunt of the storm. Powerful winds toppled power lines along the main highway, and fallen trees blocked roads in the provincial capital. Many homes and a local stadium were damaged, and trees were felled. Cuban officials began restoring power to the eastern half of the island a day after Rafael knocked out electricity for 10 million people. Havana remained without power, with no timeline for full restoration.
We are going to break the campaign of our enemies who are already claiming that Cuba has collapsed. Nobody is collapsing here. What we are doing is standing up and fighting. We have already solved the first stage of disconnection of the national electric power grid. We have already organized the entire recovery phase in the wake of the damage caused by this hurricane. So far, there have been no deaths.
y hasta ahora no hay reportada pérdida de vidas humanas.
Rafael is the second hurricane to strike Cuba in under a month, following Hurricane Oscar's impact on the island's eastern region in October.
Germany's coalition government collapsed after Chancellor Olaf Scholz fired Finance Minister Christian Lindner, paving the way for a snap election. According to German political analyst Stefan Marschall, the election could bring major shifts in both domestic policy and Germany's role within the European Union.
The end of the coalition government in Germany is not a surprise, but the timing was surprising in some ways. Because in the last 2 months we have observed that the coalition, the three-way coalition between the three parties has been very fragile, and there have been a lot of disputes, a lot of controversies, conflicts within this coalition. And so we waited for the moment that it breaks down, but that it happened yesterday was a little bit surprising, but there was a dynamic which was obviously no longer under control. We are now in a transition period in Germany, which means that we have kind of a government which is going to step down very soon, and we don't know how the new government is going to look like. So in this period, German politics will be very weak. It's not going to happen very much in Germany, in German foreign policy, for example. So this means that we have kind of a paralyzed time, politics time in Germany, and that's of course not good, especially considering that we are now in a world which is even much more complicated after the elections in the United States. The partners of Germany within the European Union, as well as within NATO, shouldn't expect that much from Germany in the next months. At least we are not going to see a proactive role of Germany when it comes to certain policy issues or Ukraine issues, for example. But what we can expect is that Germany will, of course, keep its support for the Ukraine. It will be part of the alliance. It will be supportive of the alliance. I mean, that's something which is kind of a bipartisan or all-partisan approach. So it is not to be expected that we will kind of retreat from whatever kind of support of these alliances. Germany is a key actor in the European Union, and if this big player is kind of weakened, that could also have implications on the whole construction of the European Union. What we will see, perhaps, is kind of a shift of power within the European Union going to the Eastern European parts, to the Eastern European states. And so we can see kind of some changes, and this could be also kind of a long-lasting development we are going to face. The situation so that we have kind of these different developments at the same time. US elections, then we have the breakdown of the coalition government in Germany. So this is kind of a very bizarre and very difficult moment, I guess. And this has not to be expected. I mean, one problem would have been enough to be solved, and now we have different ones, domestically as well as internationally. And of course, this raises a lot of questions about the role of Germany in the next months. It raises a lot of questions about what can be expected from Germany after the next elections, after the snap elections, which are going to take place in March.
Climate finance will be a key focus at the COP29 summit being held here in Baku next week. The conference will aim to agree on the annual funds needed to help developing countries to achieve their Paris Agreement objectives.
As a contributor country, the US plays a major part in negotiations. However, following Donald Trump's election win, questions are being raised about how Washington's priorities might look come January 2025. Famously pulled out of the Paris Climate Agreement during his last stint as president, and has called the climate crisis a hoax. However, one policy analyst said she didn't expect other heads of state to follow his lead.
If we look back to when Trump was last elected, we had the COP in Marrakesh right after. We saw a lot of uncertainty and concerns for the first hours, and that's natural. We see that again now. But afterwards, you saw countries coming together again and really being keen to negotiate the outcomes. So even this year, now that we have the result already, I expect a lot of leaders to actually step up and say and feel the need to clearly distance themselves from the climate denialism that he talks about and projects.
Environmentalists have long emphasized the need to secure finance objectives as a means of helping developing countries to implement their climate plans. It is hoped the talks at COP29 will lay the groundwork for an important milestone next year, the 10-year anniversary of the Paris Agreement.
The talks this year should really lay out the groundwork for the critical moment next year, which will mark 10 years since the Paris Agreement was signed. And it's also kind of the deadline for countries to submit their NDCs, so nationally determined contributions or national climate action plans. And in order to do this, developing countries need to be sure that the money is available. And at COP29, this really needs to be secured and agreed.
Unlike previous COPs, the Baku summit may not advance specific timelines for ending fossil fuel use, although some nations may push for limits on new coal plants. Certain countries may also start updating their national climate pledge before the 2025 deadline.
So finance happens to be at the core of COP29 climate conference, but then there are other topics which are going to be important. For instance, last year we got a historic agreement on transitioning away from fossil fuels, and there are still discussions on how do we now implement that decision, be it tripling renewable energy or doubling energy efficiency. We have not been able to get any hint from, again, developed countries how they are going to adopt those targets domestically and provide resources to developing countries. Similarly, money for adaptation to help countries prepare for climate impacts is not coming through.
Other goals at COP29 include setting specific climate adaptation targets, increasing contributions to the Loss and Damage Fund for vulnerable countries, and clarifying rules for trading carbon credits tied to natural carbon sinks, such as forests.
Baku is getting ready to host the COP29 summit in the global fight against climate change. Let's hear from Aytan Shukurova for what is going on behind the scenes.
COP29 is just around the corner. So preparations are in full swing as world leaders, negotiators, and climate experts prepare to address the urgent challenges of climate change. Behind the scenes, nations are finalizing their strategies, while stakeholders from all sectors, governments, businesses, and civil society are mobilizing to ensure that the talks lead to the meaningful action. Even the world-class venue that will serve for global discussions on climate action is ready. The Baku Olympic Stadium, which hosted the 2015 European Games, is renowned for its modern architecture and spacious layout and has been reconfigured to accommodate thousands of delegates, media representatives, and climate activists.
Right now, we are reached 65,000 registration and 14,000 badges we issued already. In the blue zone, we have meeting rooms, 26 meeting rooms, 9 side event rooms, and 5 special event rooms. And on top of that, we have so many services that we are offering to our guests to make their life easier and make a comfortable experience for them.
Altogether, over 50,000 of the estimated 65,000 delegates attending COP29 will be from overseas. To ensure everything runs smoothly, Baku is upgrading its airport facilities, improving crowd management systems, and expanding its accommodation options, making sure the city is ready for the thousands of visitors.
Through the use of Intelligent Traffic Management Center, we will make sure that every road and every avenue is safe and secure throughout the whole city. Also, we have to be ready for any kind of emergencies during this very large-scale international event, and therefore we have deployed increased number of police officers, both in the perimeter of the venue and in the different public spaces throughout the whole city. We'll also be utilizing thousands of smart city security cameras that are installed in many parts of the city. This will help us to have a close control of the situation during the event.
Heydar Aliyev International Airport will operate in an enhanced mode during COP29. Additional staff and volunteers have been engaged to manage the anticipated increase in passenger flow, with a dedicated task force established to oversee all processes. Currently, the airport serves 18-20,000 passengers daily, but this figure is expected to reach 25-28,000 during COP29.
Key issues on the agenda include enhanced emissions reduction targets, climate adaptation strategies, finance for developing nations, and addressing loss and damage caused by climate impacts.
This agenda will lead to strengthening of security measures in the Caucasus, in the Southern Caucasus in general, will create opportunities for at least consultations among 3 Southern Caucasian countries, and which lead the way to future cooperation. I think it's a unique chance now. We've been deprived from that when Soviet Union collapsed, unlike Baltic states, which started their, independent journey in peaceful environment. We had wars. So now it's a chance to turn that page, and we're doing it. And I think COP29 is an excellent example.
Given the packed agenda and high expectations, the forthcoming days are set to be a whirlwind of negotiations and decisive steps toward a sustainable, climate-resilient future. The summit will tackle pressing issues like climate finance and reducing emissions.
Financial flow should be ensured that those countries that face these severe challenges from the climate change and also to shift to a green economy, they also need some financial support, so that in Baku COP there will be discussions around this financial flow to that country that need to have this shift. There is some already mechanisms available, but it needs to be further developed and make them operational too.
As Baku is coming closer to the COP29 opening, one thing is clear: the clock is ticking, and the time for bold action is now.
International participants in the Global Summit of Religious Leaders visited the Karabakh region of Azerbaijan.
This road leads to Agdam, one of the sites the participants of the Global Summit of Religious Leaders are visiting here in Azerbaijan.
The two-day Global Summit of Religious Leaders in Baku was really interesting and successful. Religious leaders from more than 60 countries participated in this event. We had a discussion about how we should protect the world, nature, water, and humanity. As you know, COP29 will start its work by the United Nations in Baku on November 11. It's also very important that religious leaders gather here and discuss world problems before that event.
Religious and governmental representatives from different countries were taken to see the ruins in Agdam, as well as the ongoing restoration and construction work. They also visited the Aliyev Martyrs and the Juma Mosque.
Today was an inspiring day because this very city that was once destroyed is being rebuilt, is being regained and reclaimed by the leadership of Azerbaijan. So it's a happy day for me now, praying at this mosque that was once desecrated. So thank God for this visit, and I hope, as Shaykh al-Islam said, that peace prevails in the entire world.
Climate is a special topic for all over the world, and world religious are thinking about our values, and that's why when we're talking about our planet, we should take into account that we share the same religions, the same values, and we should do our best for our planet together. It doesn't matter which kind of religion, which kind of nationality. And that's very symbolic, that World Religious Summit just now here in Khankandi.
The delegation also explored cities such as Khojaly and Shusha.
The Church of Apostles in the ancient city of AnewZ, located in Turkey's southern province of Adana, will soon open to tourists, following excavations conducted as part of the Legacy to the Future project.
Excavations are underway in the ancient city that is listed on UNESCO's tentative World Heritage List. The project is led under the guidance of the Culture and Tourism Ministry General Directorate of Cultural Heritage and Museums. Within the scope of the project, excavations began at the Church of the Apostles, the largest church identified in AnewZ, a site of considerable importance to early Christianity. Currently, 25 people are working on the site, and excavations will continue uninterrupted. Following the excavations, the Church of Apostles is planned to be open to the visitors.
The structure was built in the city center with a 3-section basilica plan. Its dimensions were measured as 56 meters by 28 meters. However, the overall architectural features and all walls up to the roof level of the central section indicate it was originally a Roman temple. At least 2 stories of a Roman temple are present here. During the transition to Christianity, some structures were added, and pagan symbols were removed and replaced with crosses and Christian symbols, converting it into a church.
Erhan highlighted that AnewZ, which played a key political and military role in Rome's struggle against the Sassanids, is a treasure trove that offers valuable insights into history, and that excavations at the site are expected to continue for many years.
In China, a group of scientists at the Beijing Institute of Technology have made a groundbreaking achievement in imaging technology. The innovation, called the fingerprints of light, allows for rapid and accurate object recognition.
This is the result of a 6-year-long research project. The ability for a camera to differentiate objects telling real from fake. This hyperspectral imaging system can analyze spectral data reflected from objects, making it incredibly powerful in detecting subtle differences unnoticed by the human eye.
Here is a facial mask made from silicon rubber that is a fundamental difference in spectral properties compared to our real human face. Through this difference, we can accurately detect and identify disguises.
The system combines an advanced image sensor chip with AI-powered algorithms, making it capable of capturing geometric information and hundreds of spectral bands.
To capture spectral information across the full spectrum, from the 3 primary colors to hundreds of spectral bands, we need more materials for broadband spectral modulation. That is why we have developed over 100 materials that can modulate the incoming light across a broad spectrum. This enables us to collect light from hundreds of spectral bands onto a chip. When combined with intelligent algorithms, this chip-based technology integrates both hardware and software to form a powerful function.
This breakthrough provides a potential solution to online fraud based on fake facial information and is expected to make its way into other scientific fields, including space exploration and smart medical applications.
Well, that's all we have for this hour. Please do stay with us. And from all of us here in Baku, we wish you a pleasant day ahead.